Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
May I present to you the cat?
I am the dog. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Hey!
And we are here together. Finally, Caleb's magic worked, and we're all together. Somehow we were able to unsacrifice Landon.
We may have had to journey into the depths of hell to retrieve him after that botched thing, and that's my bad.
Yeah,
I'll fully own that one. But...
That was not a fun 2 weeks.
I mean,
that's why we didn't have an episode last week.
we had to save him because, man. Anywho, we're here to talk all things tech this week and last week. Play a little catch up, but with some news that's happened that we want to talk about. So let's get into this. The first thing on the agenda here, looks like we're getting to some Apple news. We got an M3 MacBook Air.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
big news, listener. Apple took their M3 processor that they'd already put in the MacBook Pro and put it in the MacBook Air. So that's what happened. There's not really anything to talk about here. Base model still has 256 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. Any upgrades beyond that cost so much more than they should that it's frankly ridiculous. It's the exact same chassis as the M2 MacBook Air, so that redesigned chassis. They did put a better fingerprint resistant coating on the blue one. So that's
okay.
Nice.
That's good.
Less fingerprints on the blue anodized aluminum MacBook Air. And yeah, the M3 is about 20% faster than the M2.
I can tell you from personal experience that the build quality on that particular MacBook Air is really good. I have the M2 version. It is nice. It's really nice.
It's a nice laptop. Everyone liked it when it came out, and everyone's like, yeah, it's that, but 20% faster now.
Yeah.
So that, thankfully, Apple did not throw an event for this. It was just a press release. It just showed up on the store. They're like, here's the M2 MacBook Air. And we're all like, I'm so glad you decided not to walk us through it. Honestly, the M3 MacBook Pros were the exact same level of upgrade. It was just like, hey, here's a new processor. We've put it in our laptops that already existed. The laptops have not changed. Everything is the same. I guess technically the new M3 MacBook Air has a slightly upgraded microphone and whatnot. I don't know. It's the same laptop. It was good last year. It's good this year. It just has the M3 on it. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. This is okay. I'm kind of happy with Apple just going, hey, you know what? Let's just upgrade our laptops every year with the new processor. That is so much better than things were back in 2016, 2017, when we were all convinced the Mac was going to die and Apple went 3 years between making any kind of changes to their laptops. And then when they did make changes to their laptops, they were putting in Intel processors that were way too hot to actually work in the chassis they were putting them in, literally impossible to cool these things. And the chassis themselves kept getting thinner and dropping ports and having stupid keyboards and just, that was a horrible time to be alive. So right now, I'm not complaining. But also, there's nothing really to say about the M3 MacBook Air.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I'm sure there's some listener that's probably like, sweet, a better MacBook Air.
If you've been holding off on buying an M2 MacBook Air because you decided you wanted one in December, and you're all like, but what if they release the M3 version of it in 2 months? Hey, look, it's been 2 months. It's here. Go buy. It's starts at the same price as the M2, and there you go. I guess technically the M2 is still around. It's $100 less now.
So that's what I was going to
So
say. Just
that's
go buy the M2.
Cool, I guess. That's true. Yeah, it's $100 discount on that. The M1 has been discontinued, and okay, that's fine, I suppose. I still think that I would really like for Apple to sell a $700 laptop again. I don't know if that's going to happen ever. Just put it in a plastic chassis, Apple. We don't need the aluminum. Put it in a plastic chassis. $700. Let's go. Anyways,
But
there
is
you go.
that classy? Is it classy?
Yeah, look, if it's a whole bunch of really cool colors, then yes, it's classy as heck.
They need to do what they did to the iPhone 5C, but with the laptops.
Yes, honestly,
enough.
they need to
Colors
just
and plastic, please.
the very last plastic MacBook that they sold, the unibody construction on that thing felt super premium. Like it was a $700 laptop. It was not a very expensive laptop. It was not super high end, whatever. But it was a unibody design like their MacBook Pros. It was just made out of plastic instead of aluminum. And that thing felt premium as heck. Like that thing felt better than most metal laptops from other companies. Like it was such a good laptop. I just want that. Just take a unibody design, make it a little bit thicker, make it chunkier, make it out of plastic, and just charge us less money for it. I don't know.
Put a
guys,
handle
it just
on
seems
it.
really obvious. Put a handle on it, please. Actually, though, I'm sorry. That G3 clamshell is still my favorite laptop design ever.
That's awesome.
But I recognize that I am a little bit stupid for feeling that way, but gosh darn it. They put a handle on the MacBook.
It's the most
Why?
iconic laptop that's ever been made, I think.
It is. Everybody recognizes that sucker.
And not just because it was on Legally Blonde.
Nice reference. You get a point for that one for the day.
There you go.
All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else to say, we'll move on to the next topic.
Oh, no, I'm good. There was hardly anything to say to begin with.
Hey, speaking of hardly anything to say, Epic dev account
Oh, gosh.
on
yeah,
Apple.
okay. So this week in Things Are Exactly the Same as They Were Before, but with slightly different flavors of spicy right now, listener, Epic and Apple are back at it again.
Yeah.
This coming after in the European Union, Apple has made their changes. They've released their changes in iOS to comply with the EU's DMA, Digital Markets Act. Yes.
Yeah.
Their new legislation that requires open app marketplaces from these big companies that have app stores and whatnot. Apple's changes to quote unquote comply with the DMA really don't feel like compliance. They never have. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say that they were complying. And a lot of people, including Tim Sweeney of Epic, have whined about Apple's basically lack of compliance, despite the fact that they claim that they're complying. But despite that, Tim Sweeney I guess Tim Sweeney didn't actually say this, but the official Fortnite account on Twitter said that they would be making a marketplace, like a third-party marketplace that you'd be able to get through the App Store that would allow you to download Fortnite and other Epic stuff, maybe apps through the Epic Game Store. Basically, the Epic Game Store was going to be coming to Apple devices in Europe, despite the fact that they hate Apple's monetization scheme. And I'm pretty sure despite the fact that they'll actually be making less money off of this than they would have if they had just kept Fortnite on iPhones and used Apple's in-app purchases. I'm pretty sure they will lose money on this overall, but losing money versus that is better than making no money because Apple banned Fortnite from the App Store. So
Right.
I can see where they're coming from there. But that was their thing, is they're like, despite your malicious compliance, we're going to do this anyways and put Fortnite on here. And so that happened several months ago. And then just this past week, Apple banned Epic's developer account in Europe. So Epic can't do any of this stuff now because they don't have a developer account. They can't submit the alternative app marketplace to Apple for review because app marketplaces have to be reviewed by Apple and then downloaded through the App Store. So they're not actually being sideloaded. It's just the whole thing is just backwards and stupid. And this looks so much like Apple just going, oh, they're going to try and install Fortnite on our devices. How can we kill this? Ban their developer account. Yeah. So that's the thing.
It actually came up later, didn't it? They reinstated it.
Have they put it back on? I don't know. I
think they did.
They are in a position where they're already being reviewed by the EU's trade marketing, whatever entity. And they, like, just for their changes in general in the EU, they were under review. And then adding this on top of it seemed like a real, like, we just have a bone to pick with Epic. Like, we don't care about anything else. We just don't want Epic to be able to put Fortnite on iPhones.
I found the article here. It says Apple has agreed to reinstate Epic Games' developer account after terminating it for a second time earlier this week. Apple's decision to close the company's developer account, which came right after the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, forced Apple to authorize alternate app stores. So, yep, they brought it back up.
Which, to be clear, they haven't really authorized alternate app stores. They have authorized apps that can install other apps. That's what they have done.
It's basically like the Samsung App Store on Android.
It sort of.
You have to download that. Unless you buy a Samsung phone, you have to download it from the Play Store to download more apps. It's more or less the same thing.
It is, except I'm pretty sure that Google does not reserve the right to review all of the apps on the Samsung App Store.
As far as we know. Who knows? Maybe they do. I don't know.
It's true. I guess I don't actually know that for sure, but it seems unlikely.
Probably not.
Especially since there are mechanisms to sideload apps on Android.
Yeah.
There aren't any on iOS. Apple has to design that in specifically. And so, yeah, they maintain control. They're still reviewing all the apps that are being installed. It's so dumb. I hate this whole thing. And yes, Apple is still having a feud with Epic, and that's never actually going to go away, I'm pretty sure, until one of the Tims dies. I think that might be where that stops. And I'll be honest, I think that Apple is better at holding grudges than just about any other corporation. Like, I think that the grudge with NVIDIA, the grudge with NVIDIA has survived the death of Steve Jobs. And I think that the grudge with Epic can easily survive Tim Cook moving on to other things. I don't think that Epic's grudge with Apple can survive the death of Tim Sweeney. I think if Tim Sweeney dies, Epic probably makes nice with Apple so that they can put Fortnite back on the iPhone and realize that revenue stream, because they've been not growing the way that they want to, and shareholders, I guess they don't have that many shareholders because
isn't it owned by
owns 50%.
I thought they were mostly owned by Tencent or something.
Well, Tencent has a minority share. It's less than 50% of the company. Right. So technically Tim Sweeney still owns Epic, but he does have to answer to those other large shareholders in some way. It's just not like public,
Yeah.
So they can send the mafia and rough him up in a back alley. That's maybe how that goes. I don't
know. Awesome. Well, we're going to move on there. We got some other news here. We're going to move over to Microsoft. Speaking of removing apps from a platform, Microsoft is shutting down the Windows subsystem. So what does this mean? Do you want me to go ahead and take this over, Landon, or would you like to put some comments on it?
Well, this really affects... Well, it doesn't really affect any of us, but it would affect you more than any of us, because I don't use Windows and Caleb uses Windows for gaming, but not in this sense. I'll just give an overview of it really quick. So,
Sure.
Basically what this means is, a few years ago, Microsoft announced that the Amazon App Store was going to be available on Windows. And then a year or two after that, they were like, oh, by the way, the Play Store is going to be available on Windows. You can run Android apps on Windows. And now they're not. That's basically what this gets rid of. You can't have basically Android running on Windows or other, as it says, subsystems running on top of Windows. So I'd be willing to bet it was a feature that was not heavily utilized by most people, if anybody. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's interesting that they're doing this, especially with all the crap that Apple's getting on. I mean, it is iOS. It's a little different versus a computer operating system, but it's very similar. So it's like it's just interesting.
Yeah. It did say that they'll be ending the support. You'll have the support for your for everything till March 5th, 2025. So the technical support
Got a
will
year
remain till then. Yep. But so yeah. So no more of the Android apps and the Amazon apps on there. So I put a little note on here saying, is this Panos Panay's revenge to Microsoft when he went over to when he gladly, in quotes, went over to Amazon?
Well, this isn't necessarily Amazon pulling this it's not them pulling the App Store. It's Microsoft saying, bye-bye.
Yeah, it could have been Panos' thing. He was ahead of Windows for a while.
Right, but I would be willing to bet, if anything, it's Microsoft getting back at him because, hey, you left us.
It's their revenge.
There you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, maybe.
So, but yeah, that happened. So, listener, if you were excited about this, sorry. Maybe who knows what'll happen, but
you know what? If you really, really wanted to keep being able to play Candy Crush on your computer, I'm sure that'll stick around.
Yep.
Don't think
Candy
that's
Crush will
going anywhere.
probably be there on every fresh Windows install.
Yep.
Because guess what? They own it now, and that is no
It's
longer
true.
That's
It's no longer malware.
Nope.
That just gives me even more reason not to go back to a Windows machine.
I do use Windows 10 and everything, but mostly it's on my PC. I don't use my PC regularly for a lot, like not even gaming. Like it's mainly
I
for
play games,
content creation, and
here's a question. So obviously Candy Crush and other apps like that are most likely still going to be there because Microsoft owns them now. But are any of these features on Windows 11? Because, it's got to be updated to get those. Because, default Windows 10 features are not default on Windows 11. We all know that.
I mean, that's very
Right.
true.
well, it does say
Maybe that's a reason to update to Windows 11 if you don't want Candy Crush.
Hey, there you
No,
go. Yeah,
so
it does say
Ken,
that it is pulling from Windows 11. So
here's the issue with this. Candy Crush that is available on Windows wasn't an Android app.
Yeah.
It's a Windows app. Like, it has been a Windows app. There's been a Windows version of Candy Crush for years.
Yes.
On Windows 10. And then, they introduced the Android apps on Windows 11. But if you installed Candy Crush on Windows 11 through the Microsoft Store, pretty sure you were getting just the normal Windows version of it. So,
Agreed.
I unfortunately, I don't think this is going to get rid of Candy Crush for anybody. And it's just the little game that could be on every device that you own.
Is it the new Doom?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like the money grubbing, obnoxious version of Doom.
Yes.
It's like your pacemaker plays Candy Crush.
Oh gosh, that's probably a selling point to some people. What it does? Is it cross play or cross progression? Because I'll totally get that pacemaker.
Man, if you get 3 in a row, you get like an extra little boost to your
Of
energy.
energy, yeah.
It's like a little zap. It's all like, ooh, yes.
Yes, this is great.
Talk about interactive
okay.
gaming. Oh.
That's the new way to do it. All right, let's go ahead. We'll move on to some general tech news. I'm gonna this name. This is a great name.
All right.
I'm gonna yes, the listener. I'm gonna go ahead. Can I say it, or do you want to say?
Oh,
it?
I want to build up to this. Okay.
Okay, you go ahead.
So, listener, this is our first nomination. Well, actually, no, it's technically not our first nomination, but it's my first nomination for worst tech name of the year. I don't think it's going to win, but it's got to be nominated at least. So, to build up to this, I want to say, so MWC happened this past week. And for those that don't know, it's Mobile World Congress. It happens every year in Barcelona. And there's always some pretty interesting devices at this event. It's kind of like CES, but more fun. And just for mobile technology, like phones and tablets and stuff like that, you know. And the past few years, Energizer, you know, the battery company, has decided they want to make a phone. And they've done this. I think the first one was in 2019, I think. And that one
sounds right.
That phone had an 18,000 milliamp hour battery attached to it. So more or less it's a battery pack with a screen that runs Android and can make phone calls and whatnot.
Yep.
This year they have to up their game every year. So this phone is called the Energizer Hard Case P28K. So let that sink in for a minute. But as the name implies, this phone has a 28,000 milliamp hour battery on it. So a big battery pack with a phone attached to it.
Holy
And
crap.
it's insane. It's crazy.
I have seen jumpstart packs for cars that have less battery capacity than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess technically those are not like, you know, they may have less milliamp hours. They also produce a heck of a lot more voltage, so the calculation is actually off. It's not comparable, but
Now now that you've said that, I want Energizer to make one of those into a phone.
yeah,
Give me a phone
it's a
that can jumpstart my car.
That would actually be awesome. I'm sorry. It's just at this point, I want Energizer to partner with Jackery and release a Jackery battery that just has an Android phone on it. And if you want to make a phone call, you just hold the whole fucking battery pack up next to your head.
Oh, you're just carrying around a generator with you. What's that? It's my phone. Oh.
That's your phone. It's
Oh,
got
okay.
two 120 volt outputs on the side. Yeah, just
So
you know,
yours
I
doesn't?
need to run a space heater off of my phone. What's weird about this? I don't understand.
Perfectly normal.
Also has solar panels on one side.
Yeah. I don't understand why you're looking at me this way.
This is a perfectly reasonable device.
Now, the biggest benefit, the other big benefit, obviously the battery is the biggest benefit to this phone.
Yes.
But the other big benefit to this phone is it only costs 250 euros.
Oh man. That's the argument for these things, is that it's like, it's a huge battery, and that's great. It's basically a battery pack that makes phone calls. It's not a good phone.
No.
Like, it's a crappy phone, but it is a phone. It is a battery bank, and it's not an outrageous price. Like, if you take a cheap Android phone and you pair it with a large battery pack like this, you'd be paying about that much money for both devices.
Yeah.
So why not just get them both in one?
Yeah, I mean, the specs on this phone aren't the worst thing in the world. It doesn't have the best chip. It's got a MediaTek MT6789 chip. I don't even know where on the hierarchy
Yeah.
of MediaTek that is. Probably not the highest.
Probably not.
It has 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, so that's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
It's got a full HD display, so it's not the highest display quality, but it's, it's there. It's 6.8 inches, so it's massive, and it's thick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're not going to carry this in any of your pockets, even your back pocket, because it's freaking huge. The cameras on it, it's got a 64 megapixel primary sensor, which I guarantee is not 64 megapixels quality, and a 20 megapixel ultra wide, and then a 2 megapixel auxiliary sensor. Don't know what that does, but it's there. They just have to have
I
3
hate
cameras.
those. Yep.
And it's running Android 14, so there you go. That's nice. But another nice thing about this is it's one of those like ruggedized type phones. Like it's it's hefty and beefy, and it could drop and be fine. And it also has an IP69 water and dust resistant rating on it. So
Oh, dang.
it's nice, I guess.
That's pretty good.
So for 250 euros, you're not getting the worst phone you could possibly get for that amount of money, but I mean,
No, for sure.
you're getting all the battery, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So IP68 is like you can submerge it in up to a meter of water for like 30 minutes to an hour or something like that.
Right.
IP69 is it's like 10 meters of water for an hour. Or
I
something
can't
like
remember
that. Like
exactly, but something like that.
It's a lot more than IP68. So
I mean, all the electronics are, padded by that giant battery, so
Yeah.
it's taking on the pressure for you. But yeah, I had to mention that because I love the name for one, but also I just love when companies do random stuff like this with phones, just because it's fun, it's interesting. We need more random crap like this, because if we don't, we end up with,
Yes.
your generic flagship that is a candy bar style phone with a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, yada, yada, yada. Nobody really cares. And you get updates like the iPhone or the Pixel or the Samsung that if you have a 4-year-old phone, you don't need to upgrade because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
one is interesting and I like it. So I have to keep mentioning these type of phones because
yeah.
they need to get out there. They need their time to
They
shine.
do.
Well, and that's the thing is like it's just another cheap Chinese smartphone, but it's got a gimmick. It's doing a thing that is unique and different and kind of fun. And that's like I'm all about that. I love that kind of thing.
Yes.
Agreed. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on. We're going to get into some gaming. And this very first thing that's written here, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Nintendo are dicks.
Yeah. So
This is
I
the
wrote
first
that
topic.
headline.
That's really all we wanted to say. This is just a reminder. Listen, no, just kidding.
Just a reminder.
Your
Just let
weekly reminder, Nintendo are dicks. So, listen, listener, this is, you know what? This is just another installment in our ongoing series of business as usual, except with a slightly different flavor of spice than
Yeah.
before. So Nintendo has just completed a lawsuit with Yuzu, which was a prominent Switch emulator. So, emulation is when you take hardware that is not the hardware that something was designed to run on, and you build software to basically fake the existence of that hardware, and then you can run something inside of it. Emulation we use for old consoles and stuff like that because, like if you want to play an NES game in this day and age, your options are hardware that is literally as old as the dinosaurs and could break at any second,
Mhm.
or using your extremely powerful modern hardware to just fake the existence of that hardware with a high degree of accuracy, and you can still run all the software from that time. It's a great way to preserve old games, old pieces of software, old operating systems, so on and so forth. Emulation is, generally speaking, awesome. The Switch is a modern console that uses hardware that's like 15 years old. So, like nobody's out here emulating a PlayStation 5. Just Nobody's doing that. It's impossible. You can't emulate an Xbox One. It's a computer. Like, it uses hardware that is actually as powerful as my gaming PC, for instance. Now, granted, my gaming PC isn't exactly a powerhouse, but obviously I can't emulate hardware that is the same level of performance as my hardware because the software layer is going to remove so much performance that it's just impossible.
Right.
But if you design a console that is based off of a smartphone from about 15 years ago, then sure, yeah, you can emulate that. That's a piece of cake. Modern hardware is totally capable of doing that. So Nintendo kind of put themselves into this situation by making a console that wasn't actually any more powerful than the Wii U, just a different form factor, and then getting upset when people were able to make emulators for it, right? So they sued the Yuzu, the makers of this emulator, and it went to trial. Yuzu didn't actually go all the way with it. They started entertaining the idea of fighting it, but then they backed down. And they're like, okay, fine. We will give to Nintendo's demands. We're taking, the emulator goes away. And it's gone just forever. Following that, a prominent 3DS emulator called Citra also shuttered, and a whole bunch of other emulators are kind of following suit for Nintendo stuff, right? So DS emulators, Drastic went free on Android and is planned to be pulled for good. Just trying to make the point that, I was charging money for this as an app purchase, but it was never about making money, Nintendo. You're just being dicks at this point. And, I think it's fair to say Nintendo probably cares more about Yuzu and, and Citra and stuff like that because they're emulating Nintendo's most recent consoles. I doubt Nintendo's going to go after anybody doing an NES console or an NES emulator that's using open source code. Nobody can pay for it, stuff like that. They probably don't care that much about that sort of thing. But the fact of the matter, Nintendo, is that you put yourselves in this situation by making a console that could be emulated on modern hardware. Nobody really forced you to do that, but here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going after their biggest fans with lawsuits. And every time Nintendo opens up a new lawsuit, it's all like, yes, you love our property so much that we're going to sue the crap out of you. Nobody loves Nintendo games and properties as much as the people designing emulators to make sure that those games and properties remain playable forever. Because that's all these people are trying to do. Some of them were charging money for the emulators. This is true. But honestly, most of them would probably be perfectly happy to have them available for free. And in fact, most emulation projects, especially Nintendo emulation projects, are open source. They can't be charged for, you could just go download the source code and do whatever the heck you want with it. And Nintendo still gets after these people. It's guys, just, could you not? Could you not? So yeah. That's today's flavor of Nintendo are dicks. They're suing their biggest fans once again and shutting down a whole bunch of emulators in the process.
There you go. There's our Nintendo news.
Yep.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on. I'm going to add a couple of these together. I guess this is the segment. I figured we'd just kind of it's in the gaming, but it's also about the Activision Blizzard, the merger and things that are happening and becoming of it. Is this actually, Microsoft agreed to do something? Did they do it? Yes or no? So one of the things on here that I have put on here, NVIDIA GeForce Now adds BattleNet integration. That was a part of the agreements for that was on there.
Yeah.
So
it's really funny because GeForce Now, when it launched, had BattleNet integration, and then it went away. And then I stopped using GeForce Now because that was how I was playing Overwatch on Macs. So
Hey, you can do it again. There you go.
I sure could. Now I don't play Overwatch, so
So have that. Also, Microsoft made more PC games available on Boosteroid. So that's just another cloud gaming place that people can get more of the games there. And that was also another contract that was signed for the merger. So figured I'd go ahead and mention those. But also something that was happening that before the merger, but through was also Activision and their QA workers, they voted to unionize. They did that this past week, and I guess it was over about 600 members of this, and they joined the Communication Workers of America.
Oh.
And Microsoft pretty much did what they said they would do. They would just acknowledge, "Yep, good job." That was
okay. That's a thing that happened. I mean, at this point, they can't really say more than that because, they have to sit down with the union and come to an agreement, and then they can say stuff.
And this, I mean, it went to I'm sure this was sped up a little bit because the quality people, there was about how many that were let go. So I'm sure they wanted to speed this vote up quick.
Yeah.
So, and not just them. I mean, all over gaming, mainly gaming, and not just Microsoft, everywhere. We've talked about the layoffs. Layoffs are still happening. So I'm sure this was kind of a quick, hey, we need to do this now. Before it was too late, I guess. So, so that's kind of most of the Activision news I had that I wanted to at least pinpoint. Mention. Another thing I wanted to mention, this, and when I say this, I am not trying to bring a culture of console warring when I say this. This is more of a culture war of calling all platforms. And what we talk about, but Sea of Thieves
versus the world.
Yes, Sea of Thieves is the #1 pre-order on PlayStation right now.
See, we were right.
It's amazing how things like that happen.
This now what? Let's go back, listener. What did Caleb and I talk about on this? Mainly Caleb and I talking about when we were talking about. There's a couple episodes ago, hey, they were going to release these. This is a good thing. And PlayStation owners, if you want more games, buy them. If you want more of Microsoft's games, buy them. Show them you will buy them.
Yeah. And here's the thing about this. And I think that, man, Microsoft lucked out with this huge. Because, listener, you may be dimly aware that Ubisoft finally, after frickin' 10 years of development, 5 years.
Oh,
5 years since they announced it. Finally released Skull and Bones, right?
Yes.
The pirate game based off of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And everyone was like, holy crap, just do the pirate sections of Assassin's Creed Black Flag exactly as they are. What a great game. And Ubisoft went, no, we're going to take 5 years and make it worse. And release what, by all accounts, is the blandest game of the year. It is so averse to offending anyone. It has done what I refer to as the McDonald's effect, where McDonald's, giant worldwide fast food chain, has a menu that is clinically designed to offend the fewest people humanly possible. The idea being that they want everybody to purchase food from their restaurant. And so they can't have any food there that offends anybody's taste. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is none of McDonald's food tastes like anything. and it's every time I talk to somebody that's I just really like McDonald's, I just automatically assume your taste buds are dead. You don't actually can't taste anything, and I don't know. They're so averse to flavor that it honestly offends me, and I refuse to eat anything from McDonald's, especially now that the drinks cost more than $1. Sorry, that was the only reason I ever went to McDonald's anyways, was for a $1 Dr. Pepper, and since that's not happening anymore, I just don't go to McDonald's. Now, I
Fair
say all
enough.
of that so that I can say that evidently, I have not played it, but evidently Skull and Bones is that. Ubisoft spent the past 5 years not developing a game or not improving upon what they already had. They spent the last 5 years removing all flavor from the concept of a piracy high seas simulator. Right? No flavor whatsoever. Everything that's in there is to hit a checklist in the quote-unquote AAA games market
No.
in 2024.
Quadruple A.
I'm sorry. That was the dumbest comment I've ever heard anybody make about a video game ever.
Yep.
On top of the fact that it was obviously wrong because nobody actually likes Skull and Bones.
This is where I push up my glasses and go, actually, Caleb.
It's so,
Triple.
my gosh.
Quadruple A.
Yes. The CEO of Ubisoft went on record as saying this is the world's first quadruple A video game. And it turns out to be the dullest piece of crap that Ubisoft has ever made. And holy crap, is that ever saying something? This is Ubisoft we're talking about. Like, the last 3, like, Ghost Recon games were the same game 3 times. Like, oh my gosh. And, like, they've just been repackaging the original Far Cry for, like, the past decade. Like, I don't know what is going on at Ubisoft, but holy crap, somebody send help. I don't, they need it. They need it. But yeah, Skull and Bones came out and flopped. Like, nobody liked Skull and Bones. Everybody was like, wow, this doesn't offend me, but holy crap, is there no reason to play this because it's not actually fun? They forgot to make their video game fun to play. Ubisoft, that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? So, in that moment, in that marketplace, a pre-order page goes live on PlayStation for a piracy simulator that actually has a proven track record of, yes, being full of griefers, but also having some flavor. Actually having fun bits to it. Stuff that's enjoyable to do. And everybody on PlayStation was like, so I could get this piece of crap over here, or I could get the one that actually people play and enjoy and looks pretty good. And yeah, there's probably going to be a bunch of griefers, but let's be honest, there's going to be a bunch of griefers in any, like, massively multiplayer online game. So you just learn to deal with it. So yeah, Microsoft could not have timed this better. I guarantee that a ton of their success is due to the fact that this pre-order went live alongside Skull and Bones launching, and Skull and Bones turning out to be a turd.
Do you know, I'm going to Sony right now. Do you know if Sea of Thieves is going to be sold as a $70 game on PlayStation?
I don't know, and I suspect it probably isn't. And that sure as heck is not going to hurt.
Let's see. PlayStation, come on.
Because yeah, what did I pay for it? Did I pay $50 for it? I probably did.
I think you and I did pay for it before it went, because remember, Game Pass hadn't come out just yet.
Yeah. And I don't know, because I pre-ordered it, because I pre-ordered it. I was like, listen, I just want to sail the ship, guys. The bar is low for me. I like things for weird reasons.
I'm seeing $40.
Oh, Landon is saying 40.
You've got it. You got 40. I was looking. It won't come up.
$39.99.
Yeah, and that tracks. Like, that tracks. I think I may have pre-ordered at $40, maybe $50.
I want to say
it was 40 or 50.
It was 40 or 50 for us when we did.
And then Skull and Bones, quadruple A over here,
$70.
absolute boring piece of crap, $70. So yeah, that it's almost half the price. It has a proven track record of actually holding a player base and being fun to play. It looks more fun, and it actually lets you, like, do stuff like get off your ship and wander around on every island that you come across. When you go to board another player's ship, you actually board the other player's ship. I don't know, freaking weird. And if you want to play with your friends, if you want to play with your friends, you're not just like, oh, we have a little fleet of ships sailing around. No, your crewmates on the same gosh darn ship doing the same missions together, because that's how a pirate simulator should work. Like, that's the thing everybody's like, I think it was, it might have been Yahtzee again. I'm quoting Yahtzee for the second episode in a row. So I guess, yeah, once again, pitch
Yep.
second wind. You should go subscribe on YouTube. Anyways, in his review of Skull and Bones, I believe it was his, he made the comment is all like, it just feels like the most insulting part of this is that like almost 5 years ago, Sea of Thieves launched the pirate simulator game that Skull and Bones should have been. So this whole time, they've been able to look at Sea of Thieves and see, oh, this is what they did, this is what's working well, this is what isn't working, and base their changes off of that, off of actual real-world player data and player reactions from Sea of Thieves. They had no reason to not release the perfect pirate simulator. All of the building blocks were there. You had Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which everybody loved. So just start there, take the sailing bits out of that game, and then look at Sea of Thieves, see what they're doing, see what's working, see what isn't, take the good stuff, put it into your game, reskin it, do a Blizzard, release a game that is exactly the same as other games that have come before it in a lot of ways, but it's just the refined, better version of those things. That's what they should have done, and it is frankly insulting that they took 5 years and didn't do any of that. So, yes, honestly, Skull and Bones, I think, very large reason for why Sea of Thieves is doing so great in the pre-orders on PlayStation. And I love that. I love that for video games as a whole. I love that Ubisoft has so much egg on their face, you can't actually see their face anymore. It's great.
Man, that was quite... I didn't know I was going to open that can of worms, but sure did
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, I didn't know you were going to open it either. I put together like literally 3 minutes ago. Well, maybe more like 10 minutes ago. Like I was looking at the, the doc here and I'm like, oh yeah, Sea of Thieves launched or pre-orders went up basically right at the same time as Skull and Bones launched. And holy crap, did Skull and Bones like turf it. So
Yeah, no. And the reason why I wanted to just mention this mainly, honestly, guys, was for customers of PlayStation. If you want more of these games that are on PC and Xbox, buy them.
Yep.
Like that's like that's it.
So far, it seems like PlayStation gamers are sending the message to Microsoft that I would like them to send, which is, hey, make your games cross-platform. People will buy them. People will play them. People will love them. Seems like, Phil Spencer agrees with this. That's why Sea of Thieves is going to PlayStation at all. And it looks like the PlayStation gamers agree with this, which is why they're seeing such a good reception for this. And it's like I said right at the beginning of all of this, we were right. Let's take the accolades now.
There you go. Like I said, didn't want to mention that on there. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Xbox partner preview that happened earlier that we wanted to talk about. So I guess the first thing is, did you actually watch this at all, Caleb? Did you see this, Landon?
Nah.
Anyone? Anything?
I
What?
didn't.
Why
I'm
did
going to
you
ask
ask?
you because you never know. You might have secretly subscribed to Game Pass and play games on your phone. I mean, you were in hell for what, 2 weeks?
I mean, that would be an equivalent. So
I mean, you could have. I mean, we could have been. You could have said, "Hey, I literally was because I was playing Doom on my phone because I subscribed to Game Pass." Surprise, surprise, Wes and Caleb.
hey, I can get Doom on my phone if I subscribe to Netflix. Wasn't that one of the Netflix games? Was a version of Doom?
No, man, there's probably a version of Doom
I'm
just
sure.
in the App Store.
I was
Here,
going
let
to
me
say
just do a quick
there's
search.
probably a version in the App Store.
Oh, there is. There's at least 3.
And why haven't we? Is that crossplay? Because that would be fun, just on our phones shooting each other on deathmatch. I think that would be fun. We ought to see that. Okay, let's go back to this Xbox partner preview.
There's Mighty Doom, which is their mobile, like their freemium mobile game. But it is worth noting that Doom itself is published by Bethesda as $5 on iOS.
You should see if it's multiplayer, because that would actually be really fun.
I suspect there is no multiplayer.
Probably not, but
In
it
here,
is Bethesda games. They don't do that crossplay very well. Anyway, the partner preview event here. So I'm going to go through on some of these games. I'll just mention what was talked about on here just kind of quickly. And then if we have anything on certain games, if we're excited or if you've heard anything, we'll just talk about it. And if you want to see anything more, listener, either A, you've already seen some things, or B, you can check it out on YouTube on these channels. So they talked about the first game here that I got is Frostpunk 2. This is the sequel to the city building survival game released on PC in last year. So that is coming. The next one is a title coming actually to Game Pass is Kunitsugami. I believe it's Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. This is a inspired single player game developed by Capcom. This one is coming as well. The Persona 3 Reload. That one is. They said that the preload remake, the original, said that it's going to release on day one on Game Pass, but they also said that all the DLCs for that will be released as well. But if you are an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate member, you get all the DLCs for free for Persona, which I think is really cool because they actually haven't been doing a lot for the Ultimate perks in a while. Like you'll get little here's a trial, like a 3-month trial to Calm or a 3-month trial to Paramount or something. There hasn't been a really good like perk, if you will. I think this is actually pretty cool because it's giving you DLC to a game or something like that. So
Right.
you ought to take a look at that if you are an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate member and you're wanting to get into Persona 3. You get the whole game. The Xbox version of Final Fantasy Online is coming on March 21st. Finally, they do have a trial version right now if you want to trial out that MMO. Take a look at it. But if you want to wait till the 21st, when you can actually link your Xbox account and if you're already an original account holder, it's coming March 21st. Next is, they also said that Stalker Legends of Zone Trilogy is coming. So it's just a cult classic PC game. The whole shebang that was kind of kind of a remaster, not a remake of the original games. Those are coming. They talked about Unknown 9 Awakening. It's an upcoming third-person action adventure game developed by Reflector Entertainment and Bandai Namco. It looks like those were the main things that came out of that. There were a couple other little things that they sprinkled in there, but if you want to take a look, but those are the main ones. So yeah,
All right.
I think it was good. I watched a little bit snippets of the preview program. I'm starting to like this more because my Xbox used to be very like, hey, let's talk to the developer. Let's talk through this and this, and didn't really show a lot of gameplay. But now it's just like, here's the game. Let's move to the next one. Here's the next one. So
Yeah.
and I thought it was pretty good. I'm starting to more enjoy these quick little, what do you call them? Whether it's a developer update, partner preview, things like that. I don't know. They just seem to do a little better. Quick, fast, and here's your games.
Yep. Short, sweet.
So
Tell us what we want to know. Call it good.
yeah. And that's pretty much everything on the gaming side that we wanted to talk about there. Moving on here. Looks like we do have some Doom news.
Oh, yes. Listener, it is time to talk about the greatest people on the internet. So, you may have heard from various news sources an extremely over-the-top horror article talking about millions of smart toothbrushes that were used in a DDoS attack that did millions of dollars worth of damage in Switzerland. Turns out, not a thing that actually happened. However, it did inspire a Germany-based programmer to purchase one of these smart toothbrushes, which apparently it's a Plonk Mini smart toothbrush, which collects brushing reports and tracks kids' brushing performance anytime and anywhere via the internet, even if you're not at home. And that is, as a parent with children, just stupid. Like, I don't, like, what the, just teach your kids how to brush their teeth. It's not that flippin' hard. I don't know. Like, if you really want to have an egg timer next to the sink that they can just set for like a minute and 30 seconds or whatever. Anywho, we're not here to talk about toothbrushing. What we're here to talk about is the fact this thing has an integrated development board with 4 megabytes of storage inside of the toothbrush and a screen. It's important. So this guy took an open source port of Doom that has been designed to be extremely small in size and will run on extremely low-end hardware. And he put it onto a toothbrush. Posted a video on YouTube of him using a keyboard and mouse to play Doom on a tiny little toothbrush screen. And it's as with all of these, I have less of a question about, like, why would you do this? Of course he did it because he's a Doom modder. He's one of the greatest people on the internet. We're not going to argue with that.
Right.
I have a question for the people who made the toothbrush. Why is there a full color LCD display on this toothbrush, guys? Like, make it make sense? I don't know.
Okay. I got this. So
Ooh.
what I'm guessing is, have you been to, I mean, my dentist has this option where when you're laying down on the chair, you can look up, there's a TV there, you can watch something if you want. Maybe this company like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. Let's put that in the toothbrush. They can supposedly watch something while they brush their teeth. Not considering the fact that you're holding it in your hand and you can't really look and brush at the same time. But
that's definitely going to be covering that screen.
I mean, it's a stretch, but that's maybe.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah?
Because my biggest thing is that, like, have we really gotten to the point in the development of technology and the production of technology that it costs the same for this company to put a black and white display and a color, like a full color display on these toothbrushes? Because that's the only thing I can think of. A black, like, they just, I assume it's there to display, like, maybe a countdown timer and, like, maybe oh, this is how long so-and-so, brushed for the past, whatever, that kind of thing. Basic information that apparently is also being sent to an app via Wi-Fi, because why is your toothbrush connected to the internet? Anyways, does it have to be a color display, though? Like, why is this not black and white? And the only thing I can think of is that it costs the same. Like, to the manufacturer, they're like, yeah, it's basically the same to put a color display on it, so put a color display on it. It'll look a little bit nicer.
Oh, jeez.
So, I don't know. It's weird, but a guy got Doom running on it, so that, I guess, makes it all worth it. It's worth noting, unlike the pregnancy test, where the pregnancy test itself, that was just the display. It was a separate computer running Doom on the display of a pregnancy test. Doom is actually running on the toothbrush.
Yeah.
Like, he got it running on the integrated smarts of the toothbrush itself, which is stupid that you can do that. Once again, why does your toothbrush need to be able to play Doom? But there it is.
But he made it happen.
You can't stop brushing your teeth until you've beaten a level.
Maybe that's how you beat the level, is as you're going, that's what moves Doom Guy, then you switch over and you get your rocket to shoot.
Man. I actually wasn't going to talk about this, but that would be a great collaboration that somebody should totally do to get, Doom, like, as a playable thing on fitness devices or something like that. That Husqvarna has a partnership to put Doom on robot lawnmowers via software update. It's just, was it Husqvarna? I'm pretty sure it was Husqvarna. On their robot lawnmowers, there's going to be a software update that you can install via the app that is going to enable Doom that you can play via on lawnmower controls. Like, so the button's on the lawnmower, you can launch Doom on the display that's on the lawnmower itself and play it. And it's going to launch sometime this month. and it'll be playable for, I think, 6 months or something like that. It's not like permanently, but yes, Husqvarna is going to be adding Doom to their lawnmowers via an over-the-air update.
I think that made our Doom of the Year category without
That's
launching
amazing.
right there.
So you're going to be buying a new lawnmower is what you're telling us.
So that's what. Oh my gosh! Yes. Yes.
That's
You know what's
amazing.
fun? You know, you look back, you talk to your grandpa. It's like, how did you get your lawn so good? Well, I just played Doom, Grandpa. Let me show you.
Yeah. So it's a really silly, goofy collaboration, but honestly, I think we could stand to see more collaborations like that out in the world.
Well, the best part about that is like it's an official collaboration. It's not like
It is.
some guy hacked it. No, they're like, no, developers at Husqvarna, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, thought about doing this. That's fantastic.
That's so awesome.
And yeah, it's like technically not Doom modders because these guys are actually partnered
Yeah.
with, I guess, Bethesda to do this. But
Well,
yeah,
it's still
that's
pretty good
also a
Doom
thing
news.
that's coming. Just flipping what?
Oh, that is so awesome. Man, I don't know if we could top that. Landon, if you got one more thing, you better top that. Like, there's something a
No.
toothbrush to a lawnmower of Doom. Like, no?
I wish. No, I can't top that.
Well, I'll go ahead and I put that down in our category for Doom of the Year.
Yes, no, I
Put
think
that
that
down
deserves
there.
a nomination.
But, I think that's the end of our episode today, listener. We appreciate you listening. If you want to get a hold of us, you can get on our social media platform. You can also get on callingallplatforms.com. Apparently, there's a promise to maybe have some updated video. Maybe.
The
On
Playdate
our
review
YouTube
is
channel.
coming. I'm working on it, I swear.
Well, if you want to subscribe and then hit the bell to be notified when that comes out, listener, you can.
Yeah, you probably would have to. Yeah.
And all right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.